Okay, so anyway, my second marriage, I immediately went out and went insane and went partying. Everything was partying. I was trying to find the men. That's where I got into my alcoholism. I started drinking a lot. I started partying a lot. I was working in an apartment complex. And shortly before that, I had sent my, well, that doesn't have anything to do with it. I let my children go. I let the girls, the younger girls, go back with their dad because I couldn't afford to pay for a babysitter and party at the same time. That couldn't happen. So I let the girls go back to their stepfather. I mean, back to their father to raise them, and that way I could go party and have a great time. And after I did that, my life spiraled downward very, very quickly. I ended up partying all the time, staying out with people. It was a nightmare. I saw the girls when I could or when I wanted to, when they didn't interfere with my life. And it was a really, really bad part of my life. That's when I woke up one day and my life had spiraled out of control. My feelings were all messed up, and I woke up and I wanted to die. I just wanted to die, but I was afraid to die and I was afraid to live. It was a void of emptiness. It was the most emptiness I've ever felt in my entire life up to that point. I had tried suicide 2 or 3 times when I was younger. Unsuccessful, of course. But I did try suicide. It wasn't to die, it was to get somebody's attention. I never intended to physically die. I just wanted somebody to hear me and help me. Of course, that never happened. Back to those days, people didn't recognize child abuse like they recognize it today. So I get to this void of laying in bed and not wanting to wake up and praying to God, please, please help me, please just let me, don't let me wake up in the morning. Now this is that God that I don't really believe in. I mean, I know he's out there for everybody else, but I didn't expect him to help me at all because he's never been there for me. But I thought, well, it's what everybody else does, so I'll pray to God and see if he can help me. Well, I woke up the next morning with the idea to go to AA. Get my butt to AA. I've got a drinking problem. So I just did. I just went to Alcoholics Anonymous. And it worked. I mean, the program worked for me for the longest time. It worked for me. I worked the 12 steps. Of course, there was a lot of things I did wrong in that thing, too. I got into a relationship in the first year. I picked my sponsors, the ones that would tell me what I wanted to hear, not the ones that told me what I needed to do or needed to hear. I stayed clean, though. I stayed clean and sober throughout that entire time. I went 16 years without a drink, without abusing prescription drugs. 16 years I did that. I worked the program, but it just never was enough. It never was enough. They tell you in AA that you don't have to believe in God, but that you need to believe in a higher power, and that you don't have to believe in God, but that you just know that you're not God. And so I didn't. I didn't believe in God. I believed that the chair had more power than I did, or that my sponsor had more power than I did. I put my faith into people. I put my life into other people's hands. And of course they screwed up, and then I would crash, fall, and burn every single time when they would let me down. My expectations were that this program and this sponsor were going to make me feel better. So I managed to stay clean and sober. I managed to keep somewhat of a sane mind. I made some better decisions, but not really good decisions. I just muddled along for 16 years. I made a lot of changes. AA is where I learned to quit being the victim, quit playing the victim, and take responsibility for my actions, to change what I knew was wrong and to be different, what I knew was inappropriate, and I did that to my best of my ability. There is a fine line in being in recovery, changing your life, and being with the Holy Spirit. There's a line, and I learned that just this last year. I had gone as far as I could go. I went to counseling through these years. I went to AA. I had changed my life so much, so much. But there was something missing that I was not aware of. I was not whole. I was not complete. And I didn't know how to do it. I had no clue. I just thought this was it. This was as far as I was going to get, and that I was never going to feel like I wanted to feel, or like I see other people. You know, there was other people in my life that nothing really bothered them, and they were able to pray and do these things, and their lives seemed peaceful. That was it. Their lives weren't any better than mine, but they were much more at peace than what I was. And so I learned, or I believe that is as far as I could go. That I was as happy as I was ever going to be. I met my husband now. Now, I had married again in early sobriety. That was my third marriage. I divorced him, and I married him again, which was my fourth marriage. I married him again. We were married like a year, and then we divorced and remarried. This was it. I met him in AA, and it was an AA marriage relationship. He was sicker than I was. So then I married again. After that second divorce, I married another one that was brand new, fresh into AA, brand new in recovery. And part of my history is, I'll fix you. I've got 2 years sobriety, 3 years sobriety, 4 years sobriety. I'll fix you. I'll help you. You know, it's that insanity that just never goes away. So back to present day, I ended up divorcing that man after 10 years. We had good relationship until about 6, or let me say, I tolerated up to about 6 years, and then it was just rocky for the last 4 years, and we ended up divorced. And then I met my husband today. I moved from Texas, where I lived all my life. I moved away from Texas and moved here to Arizona, and met my current husband. Now, what I understand today, well, let me back up a little bit, because I don't want to rush into what's happened. I want it completely understood that I believed in my heart that I was as far as I was ever going to be. I was the person that this was it. This was me. It was never going to get any better, and I just had to learn how to work with this. So during early relationship, in this early marriage, this man was really a Christian. He was an ordained minister. He had gone to Grand Canyon University. He had a degree in theology. And I don't know why God put me with my husband now. It's to get me where I was, but at the time I had no idea. To get me where I am now, I'm sorry. But at the time I had no idea what this was all about. So when I met JC, I began to want kind of sort of what he had. He has this peace about him, and I thought, I want this. But my life was still chaotic. I still tried to control. Even though I was a different person than I wasn't the person that I needed to be. My brother, Mike, he was my best friend in my whole life. He's 18 months younger than me. He's my natural brother. My mother had 2 boys by my stepfather, which we weren't that close because I left at such an early age, and they were so young. One was 10 years younger than me, and the other 8 years younger than me. But Mike and I, we were 18 months apart, and he never left me during that whole time. He never left me. He was always there for me. And excuse me if I get a little emotional. But about 3 years ago, when I first moved to Arizona, I was still trying to be controlling and manipulating and pretty selfish. And he walked away from me. He told me he never wanted to speak to me again. He never wanted to have anything to do with me. And see, I had changed so much in AA, I thought I was well. I thought it was enough. I thought that I was different, and I was different. I was. AA changed me a lot, but I still had those defects of character. I still had things wrong that AA couldn't fix, that no human being could fix. And I didn't understand that. I don't know if he understood it walking away from me, if he knew where I needed to be. I have no idea. We have still not spoken. But I still had problems. I still had issues that I needed to deal with, and I didn't understand why he would walk away from me, because I was different. He had preached to me all my all the time. You know, we were far apart, but we used to always talk. And he could talk to me and I would listen to him. But he walked away from me, and that was probably worse than any of the ex-husbands leaving. That hurt me more than I could ever imagine, and still does. I miss my brother. He's been there for me my whole entire life. But one more time, maybe this was in God's plan, because God had to remove everything from me, everything that I could possibly love or care about in order to get where I am today. It had to all be taken away so that I would depend on nothing but God. So when Mike walked away from me, when Mike quit talking to me, he hurt. It hurt, and it hurt bad. So, but I didn't, like, again, I didn't understand where I needed to be. I didn't understand that I needed to do more changing. He had even told me, you're still this, you're still that, you still this. And I didn't understand it. I wanted to understand what he was saying. I wanted to be the person he was describing that I should be, and to stop doing the things I was doing. But I didn't understand. So, I just let him go. I mean, his birthday was Friday, just this last Friday, April 20th, and I wanted to pick up the phone so bad and call him. But I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if he's ready to talk to me. I don't know if I'm ready to talk to him. But anyway, I got sidetracked there. But it's important for you to know that people that have walked away from me because I needed to be where I am today. So I want to fast forward because I'm going to kind of finish this up, and then I'll do some follow-ups later. But September, I started counseling. Everything started happening very quickly. Let me back up just a little bit. And this all happened in 2011. Everything that happened to me happened in 2011. Between April and September, I had married my current husband, JC. JC used to be very involved in the church, in a church. And, of course, he didn't go to church anymore, and I didn't go to church. And I had drank. I had actually realized earlier in 2011 that I wasn't an alcoholic, that I didn't have a drinking problem. I could drink and not get drunk. I could use prescription drugs, and but I wasn't addicted. I could do them or I could not do them, and I knew I had enough power to make a choice. My addiction was to people. My addiction was to men, to girlfriends, to family members. I needed them to change me. I needed them to define who I was and to fill that void that was in my heart. That's why it hurt so bad when my brother left. It hurt so bad when my uncle was angry with me, and my aunt, when she moved to California and left me there. It hurt so bad because they were the ones that I was addicted to. The husbands, the children, they're the ones that were going to change how I felt and enable me to be a better person. Not one time did I turn to God because I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that God had that much power because he never was there for me before. So,